Flag detail, take your positions. Stand up. Present arms.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And on you heard the robbers begin. They knew that our flag was still sailors, that star-spangled banner yet wave. For the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Order, march.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the Pledge allegiance to the flag for which it stands,
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's a night that the armies were rolling along. Down the hall we have done fighting till the battle won, and the armies were rolling along. And it's high, 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 the army's on its way. Out our country's on its throne. For wherever we are, we're always home, and the armies were rolling along.
all, thank everybody for coming. November 11th, Veterans Day, is designated to honor our military veterans, past, present, and future, who have entered into service of our country to guard and protect our freedom in times of war and peace. It is with deep appreciation that we extend to you our unending gratitude for your service. Also, thank you to our community for our community service, which is performed as a sacred duty in the memory of fallen comrades and in an attempt to lead lives worthy of their ultimate sacrifice. The same appreciation goes to our families, community, support of service members. It is you who help shoulder the weight of war and the burden of their sacrifice. Thank you. Thank you for your love, support, and reliance that must never be forgotten. In closing, I want to thank the Verona High School Choir. You guys were just amazing. I really appreciate you coming. This means a lot to us. And as part of that appreciation, Heather, can you come here, please? I've got a certificate for Heather from the American Legion Post 285. Certificate of appreciation in recognition of your support for our veterans in the area. We really appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful instructor. I appreciate it. I also want to thank Shannon, for President of Verona's American Legion. Center for and I want to thank to our American Legion Post 385 veterans for raising the flags and remaining steadfast in the duties of our post. Thank you all for taking time to attend this ceremony. I don't know if you know or not, but a lot of you hope they're going over to the Senior Center afterwards for their luncheon and their program over there. I also want to thank Charlotte. This couldn't happen without her. She belongs to Post 285, and with all the duties that I have going on, she's willingly stepped in to help organize this, and I really appreciate it, Charlotte, so thank you. George Washington said the willingness with which our young people are likely to serve in any war, no matter how justified, shall be directly proportional as to how they perceive the veterans of earlier wars were treated and appreciated for their nation, from their nation. So once again, I want to thank everybody for coming. I wish we could have done this yesterday when the weather was a lot nicer. But you know, Veterans Day is like this every year. I can't remember one that it wasn't cold and windy. So, but thank you again, and especially thank you guys. Thank you very much. Color guard, can you post the colors, please?
I got high school scholarship and posted I like.
1.5 is what I usually
Present arms.
So I'm not delivering meals today.
Order. Shannon, is she here? You're Shannon now. Name change. She's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with
I think you can be seated now. Don, please give us our prayer. Don Mayo is going to lead us in prayer. Please remove your hats.
Shall we pray? Most gracious Father of us all, from whom comes all help and blessing, we commend to you for your care and keeping all the men and women who have served and are currently serving in our armed forces at home and abroad. We thank you for the families and communities who are steadfast in their support of our troops, and ask that you continue to bless them with your grace as they honor those who protect and defend our liberties. We lift up to you also our law enforcement officers, firefighters, and first responders, and all who serve to keep us safe in our communities and homes, and ask for your continued help and blessing as they serve to keep us safe in our community. We thank you for the food we are about to eat and for those who prepared and are serving it. May this meal be seasoned with your blessings, your grace, and most of all, your love. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I'm Elisa Wiest. I'm the program manager here at the Verona Senior Center, and we just want to welcome you here today. We are going to begin serving our meal, barbecued ribs, cheesy potatoes, and dessert. And so we hope you enjoy this meal. And then at 12:30, we will have our Quilts of Valor presentation. We are going to be rewarding quilts to 14 individuals today, so I hope you will stay for that. And then after that program, we will have cake to hand out. So again, I just want to say welcome, and I just want to say how much we appreciate each and every one of you veterans who have served and are currently serving. And I also want to recognize any widows of veterans in the room. So if you are a widow, I would like you to stand and we will present you with a carnation. And then you can just hang tight and we'll have the meal out to you shortly. So if you are a widow, would you please stand or wave your hand and we will bring you a carnation. Thank you.
It's a certificate of appreciation presented to the Verona Senior Center in recognition of your support for our Verona area veterans. I really appreciate it, and I think the meal was great. Their service here is always great. So please give them a round of applause.
Okay, everyone. How was your lunch? Good. Good to hear. You know, you can't go wrong with cheesy potatoes, right? Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I'm glad that you enjoyed your lunch. So we're going to move on to the next part of our program today, which is our Quilts of Valor presentation. So today we had the Sugar River Quilts of Valor women here with us. And yes, let's give them a round of applause. Absolutely. So they really are going to be, other than the veterans, of course, they are going to be the star of our show today. They do a fantastic job, and I just really wanted to recognize all their hard work, so thank you. So on that note, I'm going to hand it over to them, but why don't we give them one more warm welcome.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? I'm Deb Casalco, and I'm from Madison, and with me is Julie Wykers from Mount Horeb. She is also a veteran. And Sue Gamer from Madison, Debbie Bursnick from Bosco, and Diana Trutman from in between the Glarus and Mount Horeb. And we are members of the Sugar River Quilts of Valor and volunteers for the National Quilts of Valor Foundation. We meet once a month in Belleville. The Quilts of Valor Foundation is a nonprofit foundation that was founded in 2003 by a Blue Star mother named Catherine Roberts. Her son was serving in Afghanistan, in Iraq at the time. And one night she had a dream. And in the dream she saw a soldier sitting on the side of the bed, humped over, feeling despair and troubled by the demons of war. She could see these demons flying above him. And as if in a movie, the next scene she saw the same soldier sitting on the side of the bed, but this time his demeanor had changed to one of hope and comfort. And the only difference in him was that at that time he had a quilt around his shoulders. So when she woke, she equated quilts with healing. And she had the idea of starting the foundation of Quilts of Valor. And her first quilt was awarded at Walter Reed Medical Center to a young man who lost his legs in Afghanistan. And so we have from one woman with a dream, Quilts Valor Foundation has developed into over 11,000 volunteer quilters and long armors who not only volunteered their time, but much of the cost in making the quilts. And from the one quilt that she awarded, we have now, through the foundation, awarded almost 330,000 quilts here in the United States, in Germany, Iraq, and Afghanistan. Our group, Sugar River Quilts Valor, was formed 8 years ago. In that 8 years, we have awarded over 800 quilts that we have made ourselves. The mission for the Quilts of Valor is to cover veterans and service members touched by war with comforting and healing Quilts of Valor. And we'd like to thank Verona Senior Center for inviting us here today so that we can do just that for some of your veterans. I invite the following veterans to come up and sit in one of these chairs up here. Dennis Carberry, Michael Fallhaber, Gary Feinholt, Merrill Fox, Tom Fronick, David Gardepie, Earl Gonzalez, George Jankovic, Glenn Moan, Gary Payne, John Perkins, George Brahoda, William Ramaker, and Richard Stoffaker.
Hey, John.
Thank you. Veterans, during the ceremony, I will call you by name one by one. And if you are able, I would ask that you would come and stand in front of me here. And one of our volunteers will hold up your quilt while I read the information that you provided for me. And after I'm done reading, they will fold the quilt in half and wrap it around your shoulders and probably give you a hug. And wrapping around your shoulders in symbolic of the veteran or the soldier that Catherine saw in her dream with a quilt around his shoulders. So veterans, the quilt brings you a three-part message from our hearts. First, we honor you for your service to our country. We honor you for leaving all you hold dear and standing in harm's way in a time of crisis, protecting us from the effects of war. Next, our quilters know that freedom is not free. The cost of our freedom is a dedication of lives of men and women like you, and this quilt is meant to thank you for your service. And finally, this quilt is meant to offer comfort to you and to remind you that although your family and friends were not with you all times, you were forever in our thoughts and our hearts. Veterans, just as you are unique, your quilt is unique. There is no other quilt like it. Your quilt of valor comes from the heart of one of our quilters. From the first fabric chosen and cut to the final stitch sewn, she knew this quilt would be made for you, a veteran. Your name has been inscribed on this quilt to ensure generations will know that what you have done for your country. Our founder, Kenneth Roberts, and others like to describe the quilt of valor as the civilian equivalent of the Purple Heart. Our quilts are awarded, they're not just given out as a magazine or a video. They are not gifts. They are a one-time, lifetime award. This Quilt of Valor clearly says thank you for your service, sacrifice, and valor in serving our nation. It is said that the highest award a civilian can give a veteran is a Quilt of Valor. Our quilts have 3 significant parts. The top layer, with its many colors, shapes, and fabric, represents the communities and the many individuals of our nation. Each stitch in the quilt represents the love, the gratitude, and sometimes the tears of the maker. The batting is the center of the quilt. It's warmth. It represents the hope that this quilt will bring you warmth, comfort, peace, and healing. The backing is the strength. It holds the pieces of the quilt together. It represents the strength of the Quilt of Valor recipients, strength of their families, strength of our communities, and lastly, the strength of our nation. And veterans, on behalf of the Quilt of Valor Foundation and a grateful nation, with our deepest appreciation, we thank you for your service to our country with this Quilt of Valor Award. Thank you, and most importantly, we welcome you home. Now we will present the quilts. David Canberry, if you are able to stand, otherwise raise your hand so we know where you are. Dennis. I'm sorry, Dennis Carberry. You just stand here and face the Dennis, you were a staff sergeant in the U.S. Air Force from July 1970 to March 1974. You monitored Soviet aircraft movement in East Germany. You currently serve your community by volunteering at Badger Perry Needs Network. Dennis, thank you for your service and welcome home. We'd like you to go back over and sit where you are sitting now, so afterwards we can take a group picture. Michael Fallhaber. Michael, you were a Specialist E7 in the United States Army from September 1965 to August 1973. You were a member of the United States Army Band, Pershing's Own. You received the Good Conduct Medal, Bandsman of the Month. You marched in the Presidential Parade in 1963, played at Honor America Day in 1970, and accompanied Kate Smith in God Bless America. You played in the Stars and Stripes show with Bob Hope. Your clarinet solos with the band at public concerts, participated in many ceremonies at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and performed at arrival ceremonies for heads of states at the White House. Your community involvement includes Rotary service for 42 years, numerous Madison Music Organization boards, such as Madison Symphony Orchestra Board and Madison Jazz Society Board. Michael, thank you for your service and welcome home. Gary L. Fineout.
He comes to the veterans group now.
Gary, you are retired from the U.S. Navy with the rank of E9. You served from July 1976 to July 1998. You were in both Desert Storm and Desert Shield. As executive chef, general quarters, you handled and delivered top secret messages to captains, XOs, and department heads. You have received the Navy Commendation Medal, Navy Achievement Medal, 8 Good Conduct Medals, 12 Battle E Effectiveness Awards, 3 Desert Storm Medals, and 5 assorted other medals. There are 2 incidents, one on the USS Opportune, waters offshore of Cuba, and one homecoming from Desert Storm and Desert Shield. Would you like to elaborate on those?
Well, when the USS Opportune, my first ship, was down Gitmo pulling a sled a mile and a half behind us, the Dahlgren, which is a destroyer, was taking pot shots at the target, which is a pontoon boat with little metal slants in it, and they were doing pretty good, but then the target went down in a swell, and the radar couldn't find the target. It found us. They shot 7 rounds at us. One veered off the forecastle, which is the front deck of the ship. One went off the back of the ship, and one went right through the quarterdeck. And they went right. This is kind of a long story. They went right through the quarterdeck, right through the executive officer's bunk. He had just gotten up from his nooner. If he had still been laying in his bunk, he wouldn't be here. So they went through his bunk, went down into our berthing, went through 3 of our racks. Well, a rack is a bed for the lower guys, you know. But it veered off the engine room ceiling, which was 12-inch steel. It didn't go through that. So it veered through that, went through our gyro computer. Now we didn't know where we were. Well, we knew where we were. We were in Gitmo. And then it went through the bulkhead, took out a bleach and alkaline powder rack, busted about 4 or 5 of those drums open. Took the ladder out from underneath my feet, threw me about 8 foot up in the air. I came down backwards and hit my head on the steel deck. Today I have a little memory problem. Still, yeah. Then it went right through the Coke machine. I mean, right through the middle of the Coke machine. That stuff was spraying all over. Then it went into the supply office. There's 5 guys in a office that was, what, 12 feet by maybe 15 feet. That shell missed every one of them. How? I don't know. But it veered off a stanchion, which is like a pole that holds a ship together. Went into the storeroom, the SK storeroom, landed in the gunner's mate's bin of all bins. That shell landed right in their bin. Well, the end of this story is kind of funny, but not supposed to be funny. We went into Gitmo, got all fixed up, got a new gyro computer, and then the captain took that shell, took it in, had Public Works cut it in half. He mounted half of it on a plaque, and then he wrote some stuff on there, put it on the Vestex, and what it said was, "We have met our enemy, and they are us."
Well, thank you for sharing that. We're glad that you're all safe. In your community, you are involved with ham radio events, bike rides, Madison Marathon, VFW events, and are a parishioner of St. Christopher Parish in Verona. Gary, thank you for your service and welcome home. Meryl Fox. Meryl, you were a Specialist 4 in the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War from September 1967 to August 1969. You served as a radio man, radio teletype creator, and air traffic controller. You received the Vietnam Service Ribbon and the Good Conduct Medal. One thing that bothered you while you were serving is that you could not vote in 1968 because you were in Vietnam. You have served as elder and deacon in the Presbyterian Church USA. You served as Cub Scout and Boy Scout leader. You have done bicycling fundraising for Dane County Boys and Girls Club, AIDS Ride for Life in Lima, New York, and Monroe County MS Ride. You were on the board and committee chair for Ontario County Family Promises in New York. You are a volunteer for RSVP, and you are a Meals on Wheels delivery person. Merrill, thank you for your service and welcome home.
If I may, it wasn't because I was in Vietnam that I couldn't vote, it was because I wasn't 21 years old.
Tom Fronick.
I got mine sitting on the couch.
Tom, you served in the U.S. Air Force with the rank of A1C from October 1965 to October 1969. As a weather balloon specialist, you released, tracked, and decoded data from the weather balloons. In your civilian life, you previously served as commander of American Legion Post No. 8 in Winona, Illinois. You are currently a volunteer driver for RSVP and Meals on Wheels. Tom, thank you for your service and welcome home. David Gardapi. David, you were in the Army as Specialist 4 from 1986 to 1990. You were called back for Desert Storm in 1990. You served in the 82nd Airborne Field Artillery as a driver and as a lifeguard. I'm now going to read something that somebody wrote about you. David had an unusual assignment and lasted for a year during his service. This required him to wear red shorts and a whistle, even in winter. David was recognized for his strength and ability in water during the drowning proofing test, which tests a person's ability to tread water for a period of time. This was a piece of cake for David because he was a swimmer in high school. Not only did he pass, but he also encouraged the whole group during the testing and was not even out of breath at the end. The superior that recognized him gave him a temporary assignment of being the lifeguard for the pools on the base, which were mostly used by families living on base. The day after his assignment began, his sergeant called him out for not wearing his uniform, and he had to explain to him that he was actually in uniform. David found himself being a lifeguard in the U.S. Army on and off for over a year. Though funny to think back on, in all seriousness, he saved 2 people's lives during this time, and one was a man having a seizure in a pool. David, thank you for your service and welcome home. Earl Gonzalez. Earl, you served during World War II in the U.S. Navy from June 1945 to July 1946 as Seaman Second Class. You were a gunsman's mate. You have received Navy awards and you received the Victory Medal. In your community, you have led a church group, youth group, was a member of the Shriners, was involved in Meals on Wheels, both delivering and cooking, and was a hospital volunteer. Earl, thank you for your service and welcome home. George Jankovic, please stay seated where you, oh, there was, it wasn't, huh? Oh, the other George, okay.
You're good.
George, you served in the Army during the Vietnam War with the rank of E5, Specialist 5 class, 5th class. You were drafted in May of 1968 and served until February 1970. You were in the 92nd Finance Unit stationed in Cam Ranch Bay, Vietnam. You have received the Army Commendation Medal and won Soldier of the Month in August 1969 for all of Cam Ranch Bay. Community service includes 40 years on the Finance Committee, starting in 1975 for Maria Garati Church. You organized and ran Wisconsin CPA Roundtable for Madison and was on the Roundtable for 20 years. You served on the Board of Directors for Middleton Performing Arts Center for 5 years. George, thank you for your service and welcome home. Glenn Moan. Glenn, you served in the Army as Specialist 4 during the Vietnam War from 1963 to November 1965. You were a military policeman. Glenn, thank you for your service and welcome home.
I'd like to say one thing, my heartfelt thanks for all concerned for this program.
George Payne, or Gary Payne, excuse me. Gary, you were in the U.S. Army 1st Infantry Division, 1st Squadron, 4th Cavalry from May 1968 to May 1971 with the rank of E5. You served in Vietnam in the support company of the 1st Squadron, 4th Cavalry. You received the Bronze Star for Meritorious Achievement in Ground Operations against hostile forces in the Republic of Vietnam during the period of February 4th, 1970 to March 3rd, 1970. You are a lifetime member of the Disabled American Veterans. Gary, thank you for your service and welcome home. John Perkins. John, you were in the U.S. Army as Specialist 5 from February 1967 to the fall 1971. You were in the heavy equipment operations. John, thank you for your service and welcome home. To the second one over here, George Pagoda. You can stay seated. George, you were an E-5 seaman in the U.S. Navy during World War II from 1944 to 1946. You were stationed in Guam. You did ship repair and maintenance while on the floating dry dock USS AFDB-2. You have received the Asiatic Pacific Award, World War II Victory Award, Navy Good Conduct Medal, and the Philippine Defense Award. George, thank you for your service and welcome home. William Ramaker. William, you were a captain in the U.S. Army from June 1965 to August 1969. During your service, you were an Air Force Defense Artillery Battery officer in Germany, basic training officer and company commander at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, a military assistance command Vietnam advisory team assistant, and a GI staff officer in Vietnam. William, you have received airborne wings from Fort Benning, Georgia, Jump School, the Vietnam Service Award, and the Bronze Medal for Vietnam. In your community, you were a volunteer for Wisconsin Special Olympics for 33 years, president and chairman of the board of directors for 16 years. Wisconsin State Fair Foundation Board of Directors 3 years, Connecticut, Kennedy Little League volunteer 10 years, president of the board of directors 8 years, coach for 3 years, Optimist Club of Downtown Madison 41 years from 1981 to present, president of the club 1982, Wisconsin Badger Basketball Booster Club Board of Directors for 5 years, president for 1 year, Elgin Neighborhood Association Board of Director 3 years, president for 1 year, East Madison YMCA Board of Director 4 years, Metropolitan YMCA Board of Directors 2 years, and received the Madison Service Club Olympian of the Year Award in 1996. William, thank you for your service and welcome home. Richard Stoffaker. Richard, you served in the U.S. Navy during the Vietnam War from 1968 to 1975. You served through service selection as a dentist and served as a dentist on the USS Hancock. You received several promotions. Richard, thank you for your service and welcome home. Veterans, this quilt has been already washed and ready for your use, and we hope that you do use it. We hope that you find comfort in it, and may the quilt be a tangible reminder that your sacrifices are acknowledged and that your service is appreciated. I would like to share a poem with you. Take a moment to thank a veteran. When you see someone in uniform, someone who serves us all, doing military duty, answering their country's call, take a moment to thank them for protecting what we hold dear. Tell them you are proud of them and make it very clear. Just tap them on the shoulder, give a smile and say, thanks for what you are doing to keep us safe in the USA. Veterans, we would like to say one more time for you, thank you for your service, and most importantly, welcome home. If we just stay seated there for a couple minutes, we could take a group picture, please.